Tuesday. And it's the House voted largely along party lines to allow for debate on a $95 billion budget that includes, it says, some $10 billion for states to implement voter ID laws and a proof of citizenship requirement in the voter registration process. It's both our key points in the Save America Act. And this is a big deal. I'll get into in a sec. It adds it's a wider part of a measure being passed via the budget reconciliation process. Long story short, remember that Congress is not really voting on the full spending bills. They're doing reconciliation bills. The quiet part that nobody's saying out loud is that COVID level spending for government budget never went away. They maintained COVID level spending. And the way they're doing the budgets now is they just keep doing these reconciliations because they don't want to pass a full budget. There are things Democrats and Republicans can't fully agree on. This also allows Congress to kind of stuff in things they want here and there within the reconciliation. It allows them to do more effectively. It's an interesting tactic they found. It says this, so further in. The reconciliation process allows the party in power to pass sweeping fiscal policy reforms without input from their opposition by lowering the Senate's threshold for passage to line up with the House's simple majority requirement, meaning you bypass the filibuster, which is not law, by the way. It's just it's an agreement among members of Congress. It adds this, though, but there are strict guidelines for what can be in a reconciliation bill. Such legislation must deal with yearly federal spending and revenues, meaning issues that do not directly affect fiscal policy are generally excluded. So what did they do? It's an interesting tactic, okay? They're basically passing the Save America Act not as a election integrity bill, but instead is a government finance bill. You see what I mean? They found a way to not make this normal legislation. They found a way to make this a budget issue. Which is a very interesting way of doing it. Briefly on this, the Save America Act. This is, Trump's been going hard on this. Effectively, it will make voter ID. It'll create voter ID. And it means that, if you want to register to vote, you got to prove you're an American citizen. Crazy concept, I know. We're one of the only countries on Earth, by the way, that does not have voter ID. Taiwan has safer elections than we do. Afghanistan has stronger election integrity than the United States. They really? At least have a thumbprint thing they do. The American election system is it's a bit of an open book. There's a lot of quote unquote trust involved in it, and of course there are people who believe that maybe that level of trust has been taken advantage of. Let's just put it that way, okay? It's actually interesting when it comes to voter ID, though. Among voters, Democrat, Republican, everything in between, and everything to the more extremes of it. Generally speaking, voter ID is a very popular issue. Most voters want it. It's not even a contest. Most voters statistically want voter ID. The issue you have is that members of Congress, mostly just on the Democrat side, do not want voter ID, even though the majority of their constituents do want voter ID. And so it raises the question of why are they not doing what their constituents demand, frankly. Why does the media make this out to be something? The way they go against it is on the basis of race. They basically say that certain races would not be capable of getting an ID, so it's racist to enforce voter ID. Opponents to that idea have noted that the Obama library requires an ID. Is that racist? Buying alcohol requires an ID. Is that racist? Driving a car requires an ID. Is that racist? If you're going to use the basis of race on that front, then why does it not apply to everything else? And it, of course, raises the real question of, well, you guys don't seem to be against ID and all this other stuff. So what's the real reason you don't want voter ID? It's a fair question to ask. Meanwhile, a 2020 infographic from the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture is making the rounds again. And this is as the Trump administration is pushing a campaign to overhaul the Smithsonian institution. Now, titled Aspects and assumptions of whiteness in the United
Oh
States.
my God.
The infographic laid out what it refers to as elements of whiteness. Let me show you what it says. It says this, quote, white dominant culture or whiteness refers to the ways white people and their traditions, attitudes, and ways of life have been normalized over time
That's
and are now
racist.
considered standard practices in the United States. And since white people still hold most of the institutional power in America, we have all internalized some aspects of white culture, including people of color. Because remember, apparently white skin is not a color, apparently. It notes that basically some of these traits are self-reliance. So,
Nobody's got white
all right,
skin.
let me go over this, okay? What is whiteness, according to the Smithsonian? And look, this is like scientific. This is supposed to be like science, okay? This is supposed to be like actual American history and so on. This is like one of the foundational bodies defining who we are as a nation. This is the Smithsonian. They say some of the traits of whiteness are self-reliance. So self-reliance, they say, is a white trait. They say it's, quote, individuals assumed to be in control of their environment. You get what you deserve. It says that whiteness is the nuclear family. Objective, rational, linear thinking, cause and effect relationships, and hard work is the key to success. Let me go over some of this, okay, because this is nonsense. The idea of cause and effect is not a white concept, okay? Any culture that has an agrarian farming base, which is almost every culture on earth, understands a basic principle. If you till the land, if you work hard, if you plant your seeds and grow your crops, you're going to get more food. That is a hard work presents gains attitude, right? It is one of the most natural, real life experiences that the more you work, the more you get. That is not a whiteness thing. Every culture on earth has experienced this, and every culture on earth understands this. It says plan for the future. So planning for the future, they're claiming, is a trait of whiteness. I think if you're not white, you should be offended by this, okay? Most countries on earth have a bit of forward-looking type thinking, okay? Most countries on earth have this. I think farming is a great example of it. Farming is a perfect example of planning for the future. It's not instant gratification. And by the way, they say that delayed gratification is a trait of whiteness. If delayed gratification did not exist, and planning for the future
What
did
a
not exist
stupid concept.
in any culture that is not touched by white people, you would not have farming. Because farming is a clear example of delayed gratification. You work very hard to till the soil and plant your crops and grow your whatever it is, wheat, rice, grain, tomatoes, anything, right? Anything you grow is delayed gratification. You're working very hard for a future result. That is planning for the future, and that is delayed gratification. And almost every culture on the face of the planet practiced it. That has nothing to do with whiteness. And briefly on this too. Concepts, it says, that are whiteness are holidays based on Christian religions, holidays based on white history male leaders. This is incredibly stupid because every single country's holidays are based on the founders of that country and the experience of the country over the course of time. Japan is going to have holidays based on their prevailing religion and their national leaders, as will every country on earth. Muslim countries are going to have holidays and,
Ramadan.
historical figures based on the founders of the country. And it just so happens that America has that as well. That's not a whiteness thing. And they even say that being polite, be polite, is a trait of whiteness. This is the Smithsonian. Being polite. Every country on earth has some standards of politeness. Confucianism in China, very old, right? Very old standard, not influenced by whiteness, is basically all about interactions, politeness, standards on filial piety, and again, cultures of this. Afghanistan, has deep culture, like the Pashtun tribes, for example. Very strong culture on politeness and in terms of how you deal with guests entering your home. Many cultures have this. This is not a white trait. And so for them to suggest this is a white thing or influenced by whiteness is either idiotic or intentionally nefarious. And I don't know which it is. You either have people who are incredibly uneducated, who've never read any books having to do with the actual historical traditions of most of the world, or they're doing this with ill intent. They're doing it to intentionally engage in discrimination, or they're pushing this for political reasons, and I don't know which it is. This is important, right? Now, on this infographic I just showed you, that is actually from the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture from 2020. That is their actual document. Now, they removed it from their website later on, but this is being brought back up because, look, it's showing how institutionalized these ideas have been.
Ah, come on. Well, we understand that the Smithsonian Institute has gone racist.